Okay, I have to ask. We've been hosting this show together for 2 years now. What's the one thing nobody tells you about podcasting? Honestly, the editing. Everyone thinks you just sit down and talk, but every episode is hours of cutting breaths, retakes, and awkward pauses. Right, which is why what I'm about to say might hurt a little. Neither of us is real. This entire conversation was typed into a laptop this morning.
Right.
And it took less than a minute to generate. No microphones, no studio, not even a cloud server, just a text file.
Free. Every voice you just heard came out of the laptop in front of me. No microphone, no studio, no cloud, and no subscription. Microsoft built the engine, open sourced it, and this week I turned it into a complete voice studio that costs exactly $0. By the end of this video, you'll have the same studio running on your own machine. Podcasts with 4 different hosts, voices in 9 languages, even a clone of a voice from 10 seconds of audio. And I'll show you the two catches nobody mentions because there is a reason this thing is free. Here's what makes this story strange. The project is called VibeVoice. When Microsoft shipped it, it rocketed to 52,000 stars on GitHub. But within weeks, Microsoft pulled the code down after misuse concerns, and most companies would have buried it right there. Instead, the model weights stayed free, the community kept it alive, and Microsoft quietly kept building. Today, the family is bigger than the original: a podcast engine, a real time voice, and a transcription model that runs on a plain CPU. All open, all MIT licensed. So I installed the whole thing on this Mac. First test. I typed a 4-person panel discussion into a plain text file, 4 speaker labels, nothing else, and pointed the model at 4 reference voices. No editing, no mixing, one command. Listen to what came back.
Welcome back to the round table. One sentence each. Biggest shift this year. Voice AI went from robotic to this, and it became free.
For me, it's local models. My data never leaves my machine anymore.
Agreed. The cloud bill I canceled says everything.
4 distinct hosts, one file, and here is the number that matters. It generated faster than the audio plays, 0.78 times real time on this laptop, using about 7 gigabytes of memory. But that clip is just the small stuff. This same model is built to hold a conversation for up to 90 minutes without falling apart. That is a full podcast episode from a text file on a machine you already own. Therefore, the obvious next question: does it only sound like an American podcast host? No. The real time model ships with 25 preset voices across 9 languages. Here it is speaking English the way it's actually spoken in India.
Namaste and welcome. Today we are talking about how artificial intelligence is changing small businesses across India, from Mumbai to Bangalore.
And there's a second engine in the family, built for speed instead of length, 500 million parameters, streaming, with about 300 milliseconds to first sound, which is the difference between a voice that reads and a voice you can interrupt. That's the one you'd wire into a phone agent or an app. This next voice is it, running live.
This voice is being generated live on a laptop. No cloud, no API key, no subscription. If you can hear me, it worked.
Now the part that made me sit back. Voice cloning. You hand it a short recording as a reference and it speaks anything in that voice. But I didn't want to clone a real person, so I fed it 10 seconds of audio that was itself generated by the smaller model. An AI, cloning an AI. Listen.
Here is the unsettling part. The voice you are hearing right now was cloned from 10 seconds of audio, and the voice it was cloned from, also generated by a machine.
And that is exactly where the warning belongs. Right here, not buried at the end. Clone your own voice or a voice you have written permission to use and nothing else. Microsoft ships this with a hard disclaimer against deepfakes and impersonation. And the point of showing you a machine cloning a machine is that 10 seconds is all it takes. Treat that as the safety briefing. because it is one. If this just replaced a $99 subscription, subscribing is free, and join here or the supporter button on Facebook backs the work. Now, the exact setup. Here is everything, and it is genuinely 3 commands and a text file. Command 1 creates a clean Python environment. Command 2 installs a package called MLX Audio. That's the engine for Apple Silicon. There's an equivalent for Windows and Linux with a GPU. Command 3 generates speech. You pass it the model name, a voice, and your text, and a WAV file drops out. For multi-speaker podcasts, you use the community project called VibeVoice MLX the same way, with one reference audio file per host. Everything on screen right now, plus the Windows path, is in the free kit. I'll tell you how to grab it in a minute. The text file is the whole craft. Each line starts with a speaker label, speaker 0, speaker 1, and the model handles the timing, the pauses, even the interruptions. But learn from my first failure. By default, it stopped generating before my script ended because there's a token cap. One flag, max speech tokens, raises the ceiling, and it's the difference between a clipped take and a full episode. So which model do you use? When? Podcast or narration? Use the 1.5B live agent. Use the real-time model. Meeting transcription, their ASR model. That one eats 60 minutes of audio in a single pass and runs on a plain CPU. Now for the catches, and there are real ones. Catch 1. Run the model without a reference voice and it can hallucinate. My very first take opened with 15 words of pure gibberish before it found the script. That's the actual transcript on screen. Always pin a voice. Catch 2. This is released for research, and Microsoft says plainly it's not recommended for production without further testing. On long takes, you'll occasionally hear a garbled word, and a paid studio voice is still more consistent take after take. And catch 3. The podcast model wants about 7.5 gigabytes of memory. On an 8 gigabyte machine, use the real-time model or a compressed build instead. So let's do the honest money math. The tool this replaces charges $22 a month for about 2.5 hours of audio and $99 a month on the Pro tier. Real prices verified today. Vibe Voice on your own machine. Unlimited hours. Total privacy. $0 forever. Therefore, the decision rule is simple. If you're producing content, drafts, or anything private, go local. The quality gap is smaller than one take of your time. If you need guaranteed studio consistency at API scale, keep paying. That's what the money actually buys. I packed all of it into a free setup kit. The exact commands for Mac and Windows, the multi-speaker text templates, the 25 voice cheat sheet, the model decision table, and the fixes for every failure I hit. Comment the single word podcast on this video, and my bot sends it to you. Just the word podcast. Real talk. 90% of you watching haven't subscribed. On Facebook, subscribe is the supporter button. That is what keeps the lights on here. On YouTube, it's free and it tells the algorithm to send you more. Subscribe to support us. If you're just starting out, my beginner guides are linked below. And look, the podcast that opened this video was a text file at breakfast and a finished recording before my coffee went cold. That's the actual transformation here. The recording studio became a file format. You know someone's still paying monthly for AI voices. Send them this before their next renewal. Meanwhile, I'm already feeding that fake podcast into Vibe Voice's own transcription model, the one that runs without a GPU, and asking it who said what. What it got wrong is the next video. See you there.